And we are live. And good afternoon for the ones seeing it on my side of the world. It's now 12 o'clock. And we always come on Tuesdays at 12 with our live podcast, The Coaches Next Door. And like you already can see, I have my guests super ready to connect with us. And I would like to do a small frame also for the ones that are seeing us for the first time. The Coaches Next Door is a podcast that we started, I think, now 4 or 5 years ago. And we started with the intention, and I started with Peter, my husband, and we started with the intention of really bringing in new and different perspectives. Of course, at that time, we had each other and we were pretty different in that sense. So we had already two different perspectives. But yeah, Peter is not with us anymore, at least physically. So I decided to continue this podcast, and I decided to continue with that same frame of bringing new perspectives and different ways of doing not only life, but in particularly coaching, in the sense coaching and working with people in the sense of transforming and supporting people. And I must say that I'm pretty glad that all my guests made me also myself think. And I think that this is something that I appreciate a lot, is that is not only saying, oh, let's bring people, different people for others, but also I put myself in the experience mode, you know what I mean? So I want to get that same sensation of bringing and learning something new, getting new insights, getting perspectives that maybe I never had before. And I think all the guests that I had until now, they did that, and I'm pretty sure that today Maya is going also to do that. I'm a follower from our own podcast, so the Muse, and I go always like, oh, okay, that's something new. That is something that I never maybe thought about it, or at least I didn't connect it in that way. So let me introduce you to Maya. And Maya is interesting because Maya is in Portugal, in the country that I was born. I'm not, so that this coincidence is always interesting. Um, and I will leave to Maya to tell and to present herself in the way that she feels today that she wants to introduce herself. So, welcome, Maya. Thank you so much for being with us in this podcast and in this live directly from Portugal. And what do you want to tell us today about yourself? What is the part of you that you want to introduce us today? Because you have a
Well,
huge curriculum, so I'm curious.
thank you, Ligia, for mediating this, and I'm grateful for everyone also who took part in mediating, being here with you today, including Joël.
Yeah.
And well, from this land, I would like to send, first of all, my gratitude to the land of Portugal that is welcoming me.
Yeah.
And every day I'm grateful to the elders of the land and the wisdom keepers of the land. I am only a visitor here. I come from Lebanon. I was born and raised in Lebanon. And on that note, it's been a heavy day yesterday, coming into today, and showing up and being with you and being able to really put words on
Yeah.
what we are gonna co explore together, because it is an ongoing exploration. It is every time we speak about anything, we are shifting our inner world in order to
Oh, we lost you, Maya. Okay, Maya, um, we lost you some way somehow. So let's see if I can do something like this and you come back to us. Okay, Maya needed to, yeah, go. Let's hope that she can connect again. Um, and I think this, just this that Maya was saying right now is deserves thinking already. Like when we share and when we are open to talk about something, um, Maya is back. I
Yeah.
was saying that just what you said is already a lot of thinking, right? The idea that when we share, we are already shifting something when we speak out, right? And I can imagine that being away from your home land and hearing things, what is going on there, and not being there from one side is safe for you, but from another side is also dealing with the distance and the worries and everything that can pass, right?
Yes, it's an ongoing deeper dive, and this has been my journey, my journey coming from science and sports, which was always my passion, and shifting in coming back into the body because of the disembodiment that I faced as a child. My whole journey was how to be really in a body through spiritual journeys and also through somatic journeys, be it yoga, be it Thai massage, be it a bit of Ayurveda, meditation, breath work to shamanism. So I'm a combination of a lot of things, like Lebanon
Yeah.
is as well.
Yeah, yeah, it's a good metaphor. It's a great metaphor. And I also read, and I'm going to tap in on that because I think it's also interesting, that you were some years in the Amazon, in the forest. Because one of the things that I think sometimes we tend to forget is that because we are so diving knowledge, we tend to put things like, if I read a book, if I do a course, I know it. But it's a totally different game when we go and we get the experience, right?
Indeed. Yeah.
So
It's a
how was that? How did you went there? What happened? And what was one
wow.
of that experience for you?
Thank you for this question. Yes, this is something that has always been part of my journey, like going to the land from where I can learn, be it Peru, the Amazonian part of Peru, the lower Amazon, which is really like the lower part of the jungle, not the upper part, which has more breeze and airiness and expansion. It's like going into the depth of the jungle and living there and being of service to thousands of people in a world of plant medicine. And yeah, being in that world has really shifted my being many times, to the point that being back into the body was quite hard, even if it was for the cause of being of service to others.
Yeah,
And that was a kind of an extreme way of diving, but every part of what I learned in terms of philosophies to embody, it was on the land, be it Peru, be it Mexico, be it India, be it Thailand. It was
yeah,
me going physically
yeah,
on also a journey of stepping out of my comfort and going to lands that I had to meet the culture in respect and in honor, and also learn and weave it in my world, because
yeah,
none of this is my culture. But how can there be a respect and honoring to the elders of those cultures
yeah,
to bring into my cosmology? And this was my continuous journey in Lebanon as well, to connect with the land, to honor the land, to love the land again beyond the
yeah.
history, without bypassing the history.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah. I got, yeah, I remember when I went to India, that was the smell.
yeah,
I went out of the airport and I was like, wow, the smell. I was like, I know the smell. But at the same time, I was the first time that I was there. So I was like, but this smell is so mine in that sense, and all
yeah.
the experience, of course. And you can, but I think also, to be honest, that requires, let me put it this way. I don't think that everyone that goes to a land learns the land.
No.
I think I know a lot of people that, for instance, I remember one time that I was pretty mad, to be honest, because I was in a group. We were in a yoga setting, so we were with a teacher, and the teacher was saying something about the way that people sit and in India, da da da, and then that person said, "Oh yeah, they sit like this in India because they don't have furniture." And I go like, I looked and I like, do, I presume that for you to say that you were in India, right? And she's like, yeah, yeah, I was there several times. And I said, no, you didn't. You didn't, because no one that went to India will ever say such a stupid thing. No, um, and she was looking at me like, what do you mean? And I said, do you really think that people in India, they go in their, in this position of
Squatting.
squatting because they don't have furniture? That is, that really crossed your mind? And I think some people, so it's not by going to the land that you learn the land and you embody the land, right? So
Indeed.
how can
It's
people do that better or more or in a different
it's
way?
yeah, it's a fascinating question, because it's really we go into back into intention. Are we going
Mm,
to a land to tap into only the consumerism aspect of it? Like I'm in Portugal. I see hundreds of expats everywhere in Lisbon. It's crazy, but I'm really intending to connect more with Portuguese people,
yeah,
because they are the people of the land. And I traveled for many years in terms of meeting international Westerners from different parts of the world. I'm not that interested in that more than learning what the culture.
yeah,
When we go to any land, we are visitors
yeah,
of people that are the people of the land, unless some lands have been
yeah,
taken over by non-indigenous people of those lands and they think they are indigenous at this point, which
yeah,
is a whole different story. But
right,
that's the headline of what's happening in the world now. The difference between honoring the indigenous people in terms of, oh yes, their history, but also what is their culture, what is their wisdom. When I went to India the first time, sitting down and eating with my hands and being with the locals
yeah,
was something to learn from them.
yeah,
Otherwise, I'm coming in as a hierarchical being that is higher than anyone else,
yeah,
and thinking that because I learned more, or I went to school or university and I have more, I know what to dress up and how to behave, that I don't learn about people, especially from third world countries. And I come from a country that is very
yeah,
much a Middle Eastern, and it has an Arab scent to it, but also a European scent to it. So
yeah,
also this exposes me to learning, to being like a gateway of
yeah,
cultures.
yeah,
And this is part of my being. I loved traveling all my life. I wanted to
yeah,
travel to learn about the world. It's learning about other cultures instead of only the gastronomy
yeah,
and the Michelin stars places and the
mm,
5 stars hotels.
yeah,
There are parts of India where you can go to Pune and you don't
yeah,
feel India.
no,
You
yes,
feel the
yes,
the supremacy of the new age India.
yeah,
But
yeah,
it's really going to the neighborhoods where you see the
yeah,
local Indians and really you know communicate with them. Same in Peru. I used to
Yeah.
really enjoy to connect with Peruvians. I used to really enjoy to connect to Mexicans, and a part of Mexico that was covered by expats. But my intention was always, you know what? I'd rather speak with Mexicans because
Yeah. Yeah.
they are the ones who are going to teach me,
Yeah.
not the
Yeah.
foreigners.
Yeah. 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 True.
Yeah.
And how do you see? Because I think this is also a representation or a metaphor for how people go around. Okay, is a like we go sometimes we go around, and I'm talking this in a larger perspective. Sometimes we go around like anything. We can read books, we go for a course, we go for a retreat, we go for a trip, but we still want to keep some comfort,
Of course.
some things that we go like, okay, you know what, a lot of things can be happening, but I will keep myself in a place that I know, right?
Of
And I
course.
see this a lot. I see this a lot, for instance, when I do the NLP course, when people say, oh, but if I do this, or if I start doing this, I will not be myself. And I go like, you need to explain me how you do that, because I don't know, how can you like take yourself out of yourself and be another person? So people tend to like, okay, I go until a certain point, but I still want to keep this something, some beliefs, some habits that I know and I feel safe about it. How do you see this in the context of getting that experience? So you go, you get an experience. How do you see this? It's
Yeah.
totally, yeah. Tell me your vision. I will not go further.
Yeah. For me, it's a dance. It's
Mm,
leaning back, looking at something, disengaging, taking an objective perspective towards things, and then leaning back in. When there's a fear of a loss of a sense of self, uh, this is where the work is.
yeah,
Because it's not
exactly.
usually something that, it's like the rigidity to be in one place, which is enough for a while, which
Yeah,
is safe for a while,
yeah,
which is comfortable for a while, until the soul expands more. It's like pulsations that are coming from inside. And so the
yeah,
resistance here is between fighting belief systems that were embedded really by society,
yeah,
by the so-called system that has been deeply rooted in the psyche of humanity, all the way to, can I take a moment to step back and really look at the broader perspective? And this requires some tools.
yeah,
The stepping back, the disengaging require tools, be it
yeah,
altered states of consciousness, breath work, states where the ego is kind of sitting here, and I step away from it and I look at it, because we need to
yeah.
live with our ego. We have, basically the journey is to befriend the ego.
It's,
Every part.
yeah. I always say, when people say to me, "Oh, the ego," and I go like, what is your problem? What is your problem with your ego?
Yeah.
You know, I think, but that is also, I think, our own. When I say our own, is the people that work more in this called personal development, or call it whatever. I think is our responsibility, because the speech is also a lot still, if unfortunately, a lot on, for you to progress, you need to divide yourself. I go like, uh,
Yeah.
okay. So I never saw anyone being really healthy without the notion of themselves. And let's call
Indeed.
that the ego. So if I don't have the notion of myself, yeah. So that will be a little bit more difficult to be here. Um, so where I totally agree with you that we need some tools, and I think that is what maybe people need to be more comfortable with assessing those tools. Because I still, for instance, I don't know what happens with you, but when I say to someone, let's go for a little bit of hypnosis, people go like, what are you going to do to me? You know what I mean? Um, because I think they are so scared of themselves. Like,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
Yeah.
like what it means, you know.
Yeah.
I go a little bit to this practical idea. I said this I said this before, but I'm going to repeat it. I had a friend of my father when I was younger. He had a daughter with the same age that I was, and I remember when we were like maybe 15 or 14 or something like that, growing up, right? He always said to us that never married someone until you see them drunk. And well, this beginning was like, what? And then of course with age we got what it meant. Like, don't don't marry anyone, don't accept a commitment like that if you don't know that person without filters,
Yes. Without control
without
mechanisms.
control, right? And I think that is what we sometimes see also when we are talking about using any way for people to let go of control, right?
Of course, because you know very well, Ligia, that in the world of NLP, in the world of hypnosis, in the world of shamanism, in
Yeah.
all those worlds where someone is basically holding space for another human being, really,
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
horizontal work. It's not a vertical power over.
No.
It is a responsibility for the space holder, but there's a lot of manipulation taking place. So
Yes.
the facilitator has to be in high integrity and check in and all the time tapping into aligning to really be able to relay trust, enough trust to someone who is in need of something like this, because sometimes people's protective mechanisms tell them no.
Yeah. Yeah. For
Yeah,
sure.
and it's like until something lands for them and there's nothing to push or pull here,
No.
it's like maybe this modality, maybe slowly going into a little bit of guided meditation, a little
Yeah. Yeah.
bit of yoga nidra, a little bit of sense of, can I just drop into being held, and the
But
rest.
yeah,
Yeah.
that the image that is coming now, connecting this with the first part of our talk about the trip and getting to the land now, and feeling the land. I think when we are working with a person is exactly the same thing.
Indeed.
It's like you are a visitor of that person, right? You are not an owner of that person. You are not the. Sometimes I even I struggle a little bit with the idea I'm a helper. I don't like it. I don't think I can help anyone.
Yeah.
I think I can support. I can be next. I can
Yeah.
be next to that person. And I think if you ask me, that is the secret of a good personal work,
Yeah.
is how much I let go of myself to
Yeah.
visit the other person,
Yeah.
to, see the other person, to let go of my own filters, to stay with the other person.
Yeah, to be with,
Yeah.
basically to be with, and
Yes.
including all the shit that is going to come up and trigger
Yes.
me.
Yes. 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 Because when and I know that you do because you come from science as well. That is, I
Yeah.
think, super. I think is important to say.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I personally have a thing that for me, a real scientist is someone that has the ability of saying science is not the only thing.
Indeed. Indeed, that's why I did not stop there. I stopped at a master's degree, and I'm like, I'm not gonna go to France. Just be in a lab coat the whole time. I respect everyone who does research.
Me too.
It's their journey. It's beautiful, and I ended up working in clinical research. So I stayed in the
Yeah.
world of science,
Yeah.
auditing doctors. The thing is, I saw the limitations of
Yeah.
science early
Yeah.
on. Not
Yeah.
that I was judging it, it was something calling me
No.
from the inside, around there's something deeper that I'm looking at. That is the nature of life, but not the way it's taught in
Yeah.
college or in university. And this is where I went into what is known as alternative approaches, and yeah, just really really deep into those to learn about really the science of life,
Yeah.
the science of nature, the wisdom
Yeah.
that is embedded in the air, in the waters, in the soil, in the spirits at play, the energies that are connecting with us every single day, including how brutal this can be. Not only
Yeah.
the beautiful,
No.
uplifting things,
No.
really, how Earth can be sometimes brutal.
Yeah.
That's also truth. And so
Yes.
to learn more about this, it was a shift of that. But I still love research. I still,
Yes.
I'm taking part in a course, a 1 year course with psychedelics today, that is about tapping into the therapeutic world and the transpersonal therapy and Groffian cosmology, like Stan Grof, what he has done with holotropic breath work. It's
Yes.
fascinating. It's genius. And
Yes.
so it's both.
But let's say, if I hear you, my sensation is that we have all the resources.
Yeah, we do. The rest is unraveling the layers that have hidden us from really seeing that inner wisdom and tapping into what is now known more in the world of plant medicine as tapping into that inner wisdom
So
that the world of spirituality has inflated around
yeah,
everyone as a healer. Yet
yeah, yeah,
it's really tapping into healing, or your connection
yeah,
with yourself.
yeah,
And
yeah,
that's where people are going into the fast pace of everyone is a healer now.
yeah. And how do you think that, um, or you feel that we can unravel this? How is, I'm pretty sure it's not one way, but how can we tap in this realization that we have the resources?
I'm going to speak from my experience. It was really about melting the brutality and the harshness and the conditionings and the
Mm,
rigidity and the abuse mechanisms that I absorbed as a little girl, being an empath, being
mm,
someone who feels a lot.
mm,
So the tapping into that inner wisdom was about, for me, really, how can I really stay gentle in the hardest, most brutal times? Not passive,
mm,
not passive, actually gently active, and also honoring the courage. It's about taking my power back somehow. It
mm,
was about the disembodiment was I was everywhere. I was in my parents' story, I was in my brother's story,
mm,
I was in my social system story, politics with religion and all of that. It's like, who am I in all of this? And in pulling, in reconnecting those
mm,
dots, for me, it was about unraveling, untangling all the blockages, and it's still ongoing, huh? It doesn't stop. Like
Yeah,
whoever
yeah,
tells you, oh yeah, I got to this point, you got to this point, you won't be in a body, thank you very
yeah,
much, take care for now. uh,
yeah,
and so it's an ongoing exposure to brutality, and how can I see it
mm,
and
mm,
be with it. It's seeing it as a part of the unconscious, collective unconscious, and personal. What is still triggering me? It's an
yeah,
ongoing
yeah,
exposure to
yeah,
things. And heightening the sensitivity was dieting and going on retreats and fasting and isolating and being a hermit and somehow being considered as antisocial, but
yeah,
it was needed to
yeah,
to to step into community again. And what is community again, and what is my part in all of this? uh, and knowing that we are all in part of one tree, and if one part of the tree is sick and is suffering, the whole tree is sick and is
and
suffering.
suffering. Yeah,
Even if we want to turn our head and say, oh, I want to smell the flowers of the tree, it's fall, it's not spring.
yeah,
Face the fall.
yeah,
And
exactly.
so the seasonal changes, all of that. How can I be in a spiraling way with life instead of in closed loops of repeating the same cycles
Yes,
over and over again, and seeing the same reality
yes,
being
yes,
repeated? So
yes.
it was an inward journey,
But
an underworld. In shamanism, it's an underworld journey.
yes, yes,
It's a,
and
it's a kind of a
and
scorpionic journey.
yes.
Yeah.
It's nice that you say the word spiral, because spiral, yeah, I still I even have it here.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it's my book
Yeah.
with my
Yeah.
husband is the spiral of superpowers, and it's
Oh,
and it's really that. I really see even when I work with also my clients, I really see that it's like it's not about, and even I did a recording about that today. It's like it's not about finding new things about yourself. It's about realizing that you are probably the same person that was born, in my case, almost 48 years ago. But I'm doing this, I'm going to the same places, but in a different way. I'm always going back to myself. You know what I mean?
yeah.
And then I'm like, okay, I'm back. For instance, we wrote this book 4 or 5 years ago. And this
Wow.
year, I got like, oh my God, it's the spiral again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like, yeah, I'm going back, but I'm not going back the same way, or I'm not going back exactly with the same tools, or I'm not, And I think that is so powerful
Yes. Yeah. The
because,
perspective. The
yes,
perspective is changing. Yeah.
and also it's not about, and because sometimes I see people, oh, I need to start over. Starting what? Start what over? Like no
Yeah.
starting over.
Yeah.
No one is here to start over. Can feel like that sometimes, okay? But you are not
Yeah.
really doing that.
Yeah.
And I think that also brings us back to the honoring. You cannot, and this is, I'm getting this right now, like you can honor your ancestors or earth if you don't honor yourself.
Indeed.
You need to honor the person that was born 48 years ago.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
you don't honor yourself, how can tap in that wisdom also from the earth and from our ancestors? And how you, I think is, I will not say that is impossible, but I find it personally very difficult.
Yeah, it's a very interesting way to seeing it. It's that spiral of starting again. What we can call death and rebirth.
Yeah,
it's a reboot. It's really a reboot, a kind of a system shutdown and a starting again. That by the time we recollect the pieces of that belong now, that restart is what feels like
Yeah.
I'm actually starting from scratch, because this is what I also felt, over the last few years. It was a restart, after banking system collapse and all of
Yeah.
that. It's like, okay, I'm just gonna start again.
Yeah.
How can I use the tool? How can I meet with not only myself, but with what is needed,
Yeah.
so that I can approach things in a healthier way. I can approach things with more awareness, with
Yeah.
open eyes, instead of, closing my eyes and saying, yes, everything is perfect. And it's not the case.
No.
Yes, everything is perfect in its imperfection. At the same time,
Yes.
the more we experience things, the more we need to stand our ground and say no when no is needed, and yes
Yes.
when yes is needed.
Yes.
And this requires these new perspectives, these ways of, instead of polarization, this is what feels right for me, this doesn't land well, I'm not
Yeah.
able to digest it.
Yeah.
And the body in this case can be in coherence with what's happening around. And oh my
Yeah.
goddess, how much the body is going through things.
Yes. Yes. And I think sometimes we also tend to forget that.
Indeed.
Because it's this kind of things that, you know, almost even okay, sometimes people feel things, but even when they feel things, they go like, oh, it's normal. Everyone has a headache some once in a while. Everyone has a pain once in a while. I'm like, no, your body's not made to feel pain in that sense. You will feel it, but it's not made for that.
Yeah,
uh,
it should be an alert system, it should be telling you
exactly.
something.
Exactly. But even more, if you don't have any, let's say, symptom, don't have a pain, I think sometimes people just forget that still there.
Yeah.
It's still doing stuff, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that is when I feel like people are disengaged from themselves. It's like,
Indeed.
and this idea that when I work with people, I realize that a lot of people don't know their own body. For me, that is something that I go like, okay, let's step in on that. Like, you need to know where is your intestines, you need to know where is your stomach, you need to know where is your lungs, you need to know,
Yeah.
because it's
Yeah.
yours.
Yeah.
And for me, it's like, how can you get fascinated about, I don't know, Mars and whatever, but you don't get fascinated about your own physicality?
Yes, indeed. Or how can there be, more questions about past life? And I was this in a past life. Can you deal with this one
With this.
first? Can we look into this one? Sometimes I'm like a party pooper for people,
Yeah.
because it's like you're asking the questions that are not really the
Not.
focus at
No.
all.
Exactly.
These are distractions.
Yeah.
And really, how can you learn to be in your body? Because the whole thing that happened with many people, and this is what really came up after 2020, the mental health crisis that is really at the uprise, the suicides that are really at the uprise, it's really the disintegration and the disembodiment that
Yes.
showed in COVID time. It
Yes.
showed we need to see the
Yes.
truth of things.
Yes.
And so, seeing the truth is not bypassing it. Seeing the truth is really facing it and dealing with it, not as a problematic
Yeah.
only, but also as something that is happening in order to really accept the fact that it's here.
It's here.
And in order to really go through the experience of being human, being so called compassionate, being communal, and talk about community, you need to be in your body before talking about community. If you're
Exactly.
not in your body and you're in seventh dimension, I'm sorry, you're part of the Lemurians or the Pleiadians.
Yeah.
Then you're there, you're not here, and you cannot tell me about love and compassion and empathy.
Yeah.
This is the embodiment of that, the transmutation of that, the alchemization when we are really honoring that temple and
Yes.
really seeing that whatever is happening in the earth, the pain that we're feeling is the pain of the earth,
Yes.
the pain of other people, not
Yeah.
only ours. It is
No.
the individuation and the collective. And
Yes.
this is the truth that we are still bringing out
Navigate.
further and
Yeah.
further. And
Yeah.
because there has been indoctrination and demonization of those things
Yeah.
under the themes of spirituality and transcendence
Yeah.
and all of that, which were really all about distraction and hierarchy, and we are better people, we are
Yeah.
higher intelligence. If you are
Yes.
of a higher intelligence, you would be more compassionate.
Yeah. Exactly. And I think is also, I don't trust, and this is a personal thing. I don't trust anyone that wants to show me an elevation
Yeah,
by not being here.
indeed.
So everyone that comes and shows me, oh yeah, you know what? You need to meditate 20 hours per day to elevate. I go like, forget it. That is not the
Yeah,
way.
yeah,
That is an
that's
escape.
discernment.
That is
That's
distraction. That
discernment.
is an escape. Call it whatever. That is not an
Yeah,
elevation of this being.
yeah,
And I think a lot of confusion in that sense comes along. A lot of confusion,
indeed.
and also a lot of use, of course. That okay, let's use meditation to achieve whatever. I like. Okay, I'm not entering that game,
Yeah,
because it's a dangerous one.
yeah,
And let me ask you one thing, because I also want to for you to have a little bit of space to speak about your podcast, the Muse, because I think the Muse is you doing that, or let me put it this way, giving that voice, right, to more
yeah.
people as well. It's
Yes,
like
it's yeah.
bringing the
Sorry.
raw, the
Yes,
raw
indeed.
thing.
Exactly. Exactly. The Muse podcast was started last year. It was a kind of a culmination of two previous years of really me wanting to speak out again after a very deep dive and not being able to speak about things directly that happened in my training when it comes to abuse, manipulation, and uh, a lot of drama, really, a lot of
Mm,
human drama that I could not speak about
mm,
because of being scared, because of being the only one that would be perceived as crazy, because of being a woman and being judged as, oh, she's crazy, she's out of her sanity, which is very easy to say when one
yeah,
person comes out and speaks and there's no others
it's
supporting them. And so the Muse podcast was a kind of, it evolved from something that I started wanting to be inspired by others, because for me life is a symbiosis.
yes,
We're not on our own. we're,
no,
we're always engaging. Even hermits in the Himalayas, they're engaging with nature, they're breathing air, they're engaging with the outer world, they're connected to the inner world a little bit more. So the Muse podcast came about to really step up or further
mm,
into giving voice to people that are really tapping into deeper states of human connection, human
yeah,
inner world. What is this human experience
yeah,
on levels, different levels, that you don't usually speak,
mm,
that are not not only not heard, but that are also not the trend. They're not sexy. They're, yeah, they're not
yeah,
sexy. They're not coming with the
yeah,
feathers
with
and
that, yeah,
all the
yeah, yeah,
all the stuff, which is also a reflection of myself. I've been in the world of shamanism, and again, this is no judgment towards people that are reflecting that, but this is the really the my expression that I had also, I honored by accepting who I am,
exactly.
in because my whole journey was wanting to belong, wanting to belong, wanting to belong, until everything was telling me, hey, you're here. As you were
Exactly.
saying, we go
Yeah,
back to that spiral.
you
You're
are already here,
belonged.
so you already
You
belong.
you belong. And so how would you express from that inner truth? And so the Muse podcast started. I wanted to start it really after last year, after something was calling a little bit more after October 7th, after what continued in Gaza, in Palestine, as an extension, without politicizing anything, with speaking truth through tools, modalities, mediating things with people that are embodying the techniques that they are learning. They're not only
Yeah.
teaching them,
Teaching.
they're
Yeah.
really going on that. What has this shifted in me, and how it became my own mindfulness, how it became my own astrology, how it became my own path of devotion and connection with the divine, and speaking from that inner truth.
From that. Yeah.
uh, yeah, and so the Muse podcast is about that. It's tapping into traditions, people that are speaking to the philosophy of yoga, but also connecting with the roots of yoga.
Yeah.
That can be foreigners, but what is that essence? We go back to essence. Can
Yeah.
I keep some of the essence without westernizing it to the point that is so hybrid
Yeah.
that it's not reflecting at all
Oh,
anything from the spirit of something?
yes. And
And that hybridization, yes, we're adapting. There's AI, all of that, everything is being integrated. How
yeah.
can we come back to the essence of things? How can we remember and remember ourselves?
Yeah. Yeah. I love
And
that.
so,
Yeah.
yeah, and so the Muse podcast is about that. And it's a passion that I always wanted to just express and put out there. And here I would like to dedicate a moment to amazing women that have been really quite very supportive, including Joël Rabat,
Yeah.
including Elsa Al-Haj, who's taking care of the media, including very, very deep connecting sisters that are, and also brothers that are feeling what that really means, coming from Lebanon and speaking to subjects that are not about religion, that are not about politics, that are
No.
about the divine in its dual expression, in the duality of life, but
Yeah.
also coming back, holding
Yeah.
that and coming back to duality, because we are living both at the same
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. And I think what you just said is I think is so relevant is and is also for myself being a real thing for so long is this idea that we are not a unique part. Let's say we are not doing this by ourselves
No.
ever. So, and I think we lose in a way a lot of time um, and a lot of and create a lot of trauma as well, like this alter responsibility, you know. um, I see sometimes people putting so much on themselves. They are like, hey, this is not all yours. This is not, this is doesn't work like this, you know.
No.
And I was even sharing with you before we started that this morning I woke up really in an energy that I go like, my God, this is not mine. I realize that this is not mine, but I still need to be with this energy, right? I still need to, you know, check in and how see how I'm going to be with this. But I will know a lot of people that would say, oh my God, maybe I need to meditate a lot because I'm feeling this energy. I'm like, no, it's not all about you. It's, this is, we are not operating in an isolated
Indeed.
way.
Indeed.
And I think when we, to be really frontal, I think when we are able to see that, a lot of the things will make much more sense. Like, I think a lot of the things with the planet, a lot of things with, wars and everything is like, doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah. And there's a role for everyone to play. There's the activists that are on the streets.
Yeah.
There's the activists that are in the coulisses, in the background. They're still activists.
Yes.
Everyone is playing their role in this orchestration. The thing is, the people who are on the side of that and criticizing and just judging or being literally brainwashed,
Yeah.
like literally brainwashed, like utterly delusional. And that's not a judgment. This is
No,
be-
it's
this
yeah.
is an observation, because the more we feel things, the more we realize that there should be more people stepping in. And it's like, am I on my own here? And that's the sense of
Yeah.
isolation.
Yeah.
Sometimes we feel that I feel I'm the only one screaming here, or
Yeah.
I'm the only one who's crying my eyes out in
Yeah.
deep grief of the losses that are at play. But no, we're not.
No. No.
And at the same time, it's that genuine, that connection with, when we tap into that deep grieving and that melting and all of that, while also going through the so-called archetype of the victim, which that part of the world is very much judged by, oh,
Yeah.
stop playing the victim. If you don't know the victim, you don't know the judge.
Yeah.
When you are really at the center of both archetypes, you are seeing that coin on both sides. It's the other side of the moon. It's the moon, it's the spiral of the moon. And so that sitting away and putting looking at something and saying, oh, this is different than me,
Yeah.
then let's not talk about inclusivity and community and,
Yeah.
yes, love and light and heightened space. Let's not do that. Let's be radically honest,
Honest. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
right? Let's say, you know what? I hate this.
Yeah.
Instead of saying, oh, let's
Oh
focus on love and
no.
focus on the
Like,
connection that we are all one. Are you really doing that? Because if you're really doing that, you'll be in the toilet
yeah.
just doing whatever is needed to be done in the toilet if you are placed in Lebanon at the moment.
Yeah. 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 So
So
that's
let's stop bypassing.
bypassing.
Let's
Exactly.
let's
Exactly.
at least be honest about this and say, hey, let's be open about this. Hey,
Yeah.
let's not talk. Let's stop the lies, not only
Yeah.
in the system and the political world, but
No,
let's
but
stop
with
lying to
ourselves.
ourselves.
With ourselves. I think that is
Indeed,
we need to start there in anything.
indeed,
In
indeed. That's
anything.
the system.
Yes.
Outside, it's here.
Exactly. 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 Exactly.
Where
So,
that's where also there's no separation.
no. Exactly.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we could be hours. It's always like this. We could be hours talking. So I want to ask you if is again, and I know that this is a little bit perverse, but if is one thing that we could tap in immediately in the wisdom, in the old wisdom, that could really almost like immediately take us to another part of the spiral, you know what I mean? What that will be for you? What you would like to share with the world?
There's something that I heard um, recently that really landed, because there's a lot of information out there, but when we need to hear a message and it
Yeah.
lands and it gets integrated in the moment,
Yeah.
it's really like, wow, this is a piece of truth that is landing in my being, and I'm just receiving it. And because we are all the time um, channels.
Yeah.
What is being, not only from above but also from below, from the earth, from the mother, from the sacred feminine, not only from the skies and the sacred masculine, but that connection between the lower and upper world. It's what I would like to share is really about, there's no way to expand and grow and embody and become better and self-develop and do whatever is about thriving and all of that before really accepting the depth of the underworld and really the depth of the deep dives that for a tree, the roots, the deeper roots, the stronger the tree. The shallow roots, there's no tree, it's going to fall
Yes.
through by just a kind of a whiff of the wind. So what I received like a message a few days ago was, when focused, sadness becomes resolve and anger becomes action.
Yes.
And um, and this is something that is like, okay, let's see what feels right for us without opposing, without annihilating, because the other does exist. We
Yes.
are seeing the shadows of the collective. We cannot deny it.
No.
We cannot annihilate it.
Yeah.
What is the part within us that we are not able to see that is reflected in this kind of extremism and the swinging of a pendulum that is all the way to the right or all the way to the left? And how can we hold both? The
I love,
brutality
you
and the
know,
peace.
yeah. You know what was my new tattoo this summer?
No.
A
What was
pendulum.
it? Oh my God. Yeah.
A
Beautiful.
pendulum, and I call it the pendulum of life, because it's exactly that. It's like,
Yeah. What a symbolism.
yeah. So it's exactly that.
Yeah.
Is no way of escaping.
Nope. You know, in Lebanon, we have a saying, you come to this earth, you're stuck. You do it's like it's like, but you know, this is our side of the drama, because
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
there's quite a drama to the
Quite a drama.
complexity of the
Yes,
culture I come
yes,
from, and I love it.
yeah. Maya, I'm going to share the places that people can follow the Muse, but also how can they can, let's say, support the podcast, right? So how can they support and really create, let's say, a place or help or support, I like more the word, to really continue this space that people can come in and have a voice, and
Yeah,
connecting all this wisdom, I think, is
thank
so
you.
relevant. So I will
Thank you,
share
Ligia.
this on the podcast, on the comments. So thank you so much again, and I'm pretty sure we will meet again.
Yes, and I'm looking forward for that. And thank you for
Yes.
being also here with me
Thank
and
you.
teaching me.
Thank you
Thank you.
so much. Take care of yourself. Bye bye.
You too. Bye.
And thank you all for seeing us.